Welcome back to Global War 1939. We just finished off round six, so let's take a look here. So for the Germans, they pushed in further into the Soviet Union, taking out these four territories here and these two here. Most of these were walk-ins, like these three around this Smolensk were walk-ons. This one was a walk-on. We did have a huge battle here and a small battle here. So uh, the city was out of range for any infantry, so they just went in with all their armor, or as much as they could. There was only two infantry defending, so it wasn't that big a deal. Got away with that with 0 hits. However, in Olarkursk, the Russians had their first line of defense, which was a huge battle. And this is what's left. So the Germans went in with 42 infantry, and they only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 infantry surviving. Of course, the Soviet defenders were completely wiped out. So fair trade. I was expecting more losses. In fact, I was expecting no infantry left by the Germans. So they're pretty happy with the survivors after that battle. So the Russian last line of defense is in Moscow, and they have 3 heavy artillery, 2 airborne, a rocket, medium tank, 3 KV-2s, 4 elite guards, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 11 infantry. So we'll see how that goes. This is possibly the Russians already took their last turn outside of, and of course they got their entire Air Force or surviving. They did have a bunch of planes in Leningrad that they lost. So they're just down to their 2 light bombers, tactical, and a fighter. And they got 3 infantry in Stalingrad. But outside of that, they really don't have anything. They got their Russians or the infantry that to start the game out east, but nothing in their secondary capital. So it's quite possible if the Germans do go in now on this coming up turn, that would be the end of the Soviet Union, which is good because then they could focus their attention in France, which they have been. The last couple turns, they've been bulking up, adding quite a few units to Western Germany. So that's going to be their focus right now, is pretty much build up to a point where an attack into France or any other territory via sea would be pointless by the Allies. Then the Germans will eventually start working on their navy and go after London itself. So that's the long-term goals. Obviously, that's going to take quite a few turns, but we will see. All right, so for the Italians, the Allies have been pretty sneaky. The British did have a fleet here in Sea Zone 64. They did come up through the Straits, and as you can tell, they knocked off Greece, landing an infantry in each. They didn't dedicate a lot. They could have got one more unit because they only got 2 transports. So they just took in the bare minimum to take these 3 territories. Taking the islands are going to be a headache for the Italians because they do need their transport to retake those. Greece, however, should fall pretty easily. They did this knowing that it would fall, but the Italians couldn't retake it on their follow-up turn as their navy was in Sea Zone 36, too far away to recapture it in the same turn. So just this little maneuver here cost Italians $6 worth of bonuses. So quite a hit from the Italian point of view. The Americans that were down in Brazil did come up and liberate Gibraltar. So the Italians coming up into the Atlantic has been delayed yet again. Outside of that, The Italians didn't really do a lot. They bolstered up a couple more units here in northern Algeria to help defend against the British that landed. So Operation Torch is underway. And then the Americans and the British here in the Atlantic, the British moved their fleet back up in the northern Atlantic. The Canadians built another transport, a tank, and an infantry. And the British landed some more units in their home island as they took a bulk of their force down into Africa. So they do need to rebuild a little bit. And they purchased some more warships. So when they do land, they can help defend against the German Air Force. They weren't able to land prior because the Air Force would have came in. They didn't have enough warships to defend against that. The Americans dumped a lot of their money into the Atlantic this turnaround. So we got battleship, cruiser, 3 destroyers, escort carrier, and a fighter. So this will serve well in protecting not only their own transports, but the British as well. So these two combined, I highly doubt that the German Air Force will attack, considering they only have 5 veterans and 3 tacticals. They do have 2 medium bombers, but they helped out in the Battle of Olarkursk, so they're obviously way out of range. Yeah, so and they took pretty much everything out of here to go after Gibraltar, which is kind of risky because if this Algeria does get activated, they will have nothing to really defend Brazil, so they'll have to turn around and land more forces. And for the British here, again, just another build-up, trying to stop the Italians from taking out Cairo. Now, the thing with bringing units up here, they did have to strip away 3 infantry from the defense of Cairo, but certainly well worth it. FEC, just again, another build-up. So this standoff between the Japanese and the British has been going on all game. It's been benefiting the Chinese more than any other country because it keeps the Burma Road open. So pretty sure if I was to give the coin flip, I would certainly give it to the FEC at this point. The Japanese do have quite a few. They got all 5 of their veteran fighters in there and a regular fighter, but the FEC do have certainly more infantry. They got more armor, so they'll continue this on as long as they need to. The FEC is outproducing the Japanese in this region. In the China, Japan did go deeper in, and the Chinese took advantage that the Japanese did put all their forces that were surviving here from the last battle and put it into this territory here. So that was a walk-in for China. They're starting to bulk up and put all the defenses into one zone instead of spreading out, trying to slow down the Japanese as much as possible. Calls are coming out to the FEC to start bringing units into China to help out. But first, this needs to be cleared out. And Anzac did a little sneaky maneuver here. They had their fleet here in C-Zone 97. They came down and took out this island, preventing the Japanese from collecting a bonus. So this does need to be handled. The Japanese did move their main fleet up to 108, which is kind of good for the Anzacs because their main fleet is out of range. Only their secondary fleet is within. So they have battleship, a carrier, 3 destroyers, and 2 cruisers. And FEC has 3 cruisers, 3 subs, and 5 destroyers. The sub is also within range. So this does need to be taken care of. The Japanese did abandon their conquest of New Guinea, as the Anzacs brought up a ton of units, certainly outnumbering the Japanese. So they took the units out of New Guinea and recaptured Carolina Islands that the Anzacs took many turns ago. And the Americans moved out from Hawaii. They seen the main Japanese fleet coming within range of striking, but they decided to sail up, and they got some land units, and they are within range of the Japanese home island, and their main fleet is out of range of this American fleet. So there's no way they can get back, and there's no naval base nearby, so they can't even get back to their home island to prevent a landing. So they're going to have to put up some blockers, put a bulk of their money into land units on their home island to stop this invasion. So this is quite a sneaky little move here. The American main fleet has 3 carriers, 4 battleships, 3 destroyers, a sub, and 7 cruisers. The Japanese main fleet has 4 subs, 2 regular battleships, 2 Amatos, 3 carriers, 5 cruisers, 2 escort carriers, and 8 destroyers. And on their last purchase, they did get ahead another Amato, another cruiser, and a few more land units. They got some cavalry now, got some more artillery, some more mechs, some more infantry, another medium tank. But certainly the Japanese fleet is out of range. There's very little they can do. Well, possibly take this cruiser, put in C-Zone 135 to delay the Americans a turn. Even if they go around it, they won't be able to get to Japan. They do need to get through C-Zone 135 to land here. So we'll see what happens. Certainly the Japanese will have to sacrifice a cruiser at the least to stop the Americans, because they can't lose they can't lose Tokyo. That would be asinine, right? So some decisions to be made. But at this point in the game, I would certainly... the Allies are in a situation where they have to move now. They know they're going to lose an ally in the Soviet Union, which certainly puts a lot more pressure on the Americans and the British. So it's... At this point, any side can still win, but it's looking like the Axis might have the slight edge, especially when Moscow falls. That gives more money to the Axis. It does activate 2 more countries on the Axis side, again putting more pressure on the Allies. But we'll see how everything plays out. Certain parts of the map, the Allies have the advantage, and other parts, the Axis has the advantage. So we will see. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and have yourself a great day.